guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to be doing a tutorial and kind of a quick review of the Soft Glam palette. This is the latest palette from Anastasia. It's a neutral palette. I don't have a ton of things to say about this in my review part because it's the same formula as Modern Renaissance. So it's that. But yeah, I wanted to throw this video up so you guys could hear my thoughts on it and see a quick look on it so you could get some inspiration if you've picked it up or if you're planning to pick it up. I wanted to say a quick thank you to you guys for the love on my last video. It honestly meant so much to me. It was so overwhelming and so surprising to see how many people related to that video, but it really meant a lot to me. I read all of your guys' comments, I read all of your guys' messages, and just thank you so much. With all that said, let's jump into it. Okay, so I already have my eye primer down and just a base shadow that matches the color of my skin. I do that so that I can easily blend out colors later and that they won't adhere to the sticky wet primer. I'm gonna be kind of tapping my brush back and forth between burnt orange and sienna. And I'm just grabbing my Smith 232 brush. And as always, I'm just kind of taking that on that outer corner and bringing it into the crease. Sorry if you guys hear my dogs chewing on toys in the background. They've just been a little bit needier than normal today. So they're in the filming room with me. I'm taking that a little bit on my inner corner as well, and I'm just leaving a gap in the center there because I'm gonna do just a kind of light halo eye. So when you're applying this color, you can use a little bit more pressure on your brush when you're kind of doing it in the crease and on the outer corner, but when you start to move up towards that brow, you wanna really lay off the pressure on your brush so you'll create a nice gradient without having to go in with a secondary brush. Next, I'm gonna dip back and forth between sienna and cypress umber. And again, starting on that outer corner where we want the heaviest deposit of color. And then I'm just kind of tapping it back and forth, building up that color and getting that product off our brush. And then I'm going to slowly, with really light pressure, kind of bring it into the crease, not connecting it all the way over, and then taking what's left on my brush and going into that inner corner. I don't like it to be super dark in my inner corner. I find it a little bit too overwhelming for my like personal taste and eye shape. So I just kind of use what's left rather than picking up more product. And then I'm just gonna switch back to my bigger brush to really diffuse this color. And if you guys are wondering why I dip back and forth between colors instead of using those colors straight, it's just because, I don't know, that's what makeup artists do, man. It's almost like I'm just looking for something that's like perfectly in between. Rather than having to do like this in the crease and then suddenly jump to this and trying to be blended out into each other, it's almost like it creates this gradation because you've been mixing the colors as you go. I don't know, try it. And again, I'm just using a super light hand. I see some people that are just kind of starting out that use like a really, really heavy hand when blending because they think that the harder they kind of push in with their brushes, the more that it's gonna move that product around. And it's just, that's not what the brush is for, man. That's not how it's designed. It's doing the work for you. So let it do the work for you. Don't destroy your brush by ramming it into your eye socket. I'm just gonna grab an eyeliner pencil. This is Urban Decay 24/7 liner in Roach. I like this color because it's a little bit lighter and warmer, and it also has some sparkle to it, so it's not gonna be too overwhelming when we're pairing it with kind of like a softer eye. And I'm not bringing it on the actual waterline. I'm just kind of going right between my lashes. And then when I get to my inner corner, you can kind of like look to the side, and I'm almost going just under my inner corner rather than right in there. And then I'm really pulling it down underneath my lash line, because I want that eyeliner to act as a base for other shadows. I just didn't want to bring it right onto my lash line because sometimes I feel like it can look a little bit too like intense and smoky when it's right on the lash line, but if it's in the lashes, it's just kind of adding that punch and that drama, but not making it like almost unwearably dark. But does that even exist? No, it doesn't. Then I'm gonna grab sienna on my brush, and I'm just using an Anastasia A14 brush for this, and I'm really packing that onto the lower lash line. If you get some fallout like I just did there, I just take my concealer brush and I swipe upwards with it so that the product gets caught in the bristles, and then I turn it around and I use the other side to just kind of wipe away any remnants. And then I'm just gonna grab a little bit of that Cypress Umber, which is the darker brown color, and I'm going to just put it under the lower lash line, going about halfway into my eye to darken it up on that outer corner. And then I just kind of run my concealer brush along that lower lash line to really diffuse the color. Now I'm just mixing Cypress Umber and Mulberry a little bit on that A14 brush from Anastasia. It's just a pencil brush. And I'm just going to bring a bit of that to that outer corner. Again, I'm just kind of dotting it on. And then once I have less product on my brush, I am moving the brush up higher and applying a little bit less pressure so I can kind of start to blend that out. And just with a super light pressure, going and blending that out. I know you guys are probably like, this is the same tutorial we've seen 35,000 times, but it is a neutral palette at the end of the day. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of Tarte's Shape Tape in the lightest color I could find, and I am just bringing that on my little small baby Hakuhodo shader brush, and I am applying it right close to my lash line, super small amount, and I'm bringing it up towards my crease, and then I'm gonna dot my brush off on some paper towel just to get rid of that excess product, and touch back into the center where the most product is. And then I'm just really, really lightly dotting my brush from side to side, which is gonna help to diffuse that color. And this is gonna act as a base to really brighten up and intensify the texture of our shimmery shadows that we're gonna go in with. First, I'm gonna grab my Smith 253 brush and a little bit of that color Sienna. I'm tapping the brush off on some paper towel so that I don't have a ton of excess product. And then I'm just really lightly dotting over the edges to help to start to diffuse that really intense primer. And then going back to the same brush that I was using to apply the concealer, I like to use that same brush because it has that tackiness still from when you were using that concealer. And I'm gonna dip into Rose Pink. This particular shade tends to really build up on your brush quite quickly. Like if you end up picking it up and you dip into it, you'll see it almost picks up like borderline too much product on this particular brush at least. So you might wanna just tap it off a little bit, but it does apply really beautifully. Like it definitely has impact. Then I'm picking up the color Glistening, which is a super pretty color, and it's kind of like a more unique gold. And I'm just taking that right down the center. It's a little bit lighter than that Rose Pink shade, so it adds a really pretty dimension and it just kind of extra little pop of color in there. Then I'm gonna dip into Tempera. I want to say Tempura. And I'm taking that right on my inner corner. This guy's super pigmented and quite white based, so if you are fair, it'll be awesome for you. If you're kind of more like medium tan to like deep, it'll be pretty bright on you, I would imagine. So I definitely would say to go in with that one with a light hand. So now I'm going to take Noir and Cypress Umber, and I'm just dotting back and forth, and I'm just going to kind of stamp that on the outer corner almost in place of a winged eyeliner. And I'm gonna go in with a half lash. I go through spits and spats where I'm like super obsessive with half lashes and I can't wear anything else. When you have a look like this that you've applied, I like to go in with a liquid liner. And because the lash will only be covering half of our lashes, hence the name, I just like to look down into my mirror, and then I go in with a liquid liner pen and I just kind of paint the base of my lashes, because obviously mascara coats the back end of them, but it doesn't coat the top unless you go in with that. But when you're wearing lashes, you probably won't. So I just like to coat that top so that you can see my lash a little bit less. And then I'm going to put the glue on my lash. So I just have this little half lash that I've cut up, and I'm going to put the glue on. And while we're doing that, I'm going to curl my lashes so that it matches kind of the curl of the fake lashes, and I'm going to put on mascara as well. Sometimes I don't feel like I have the physical strength to curl my lashes. I'm not a big lash curler in the first place, you guys know that. And then I'm going in with Tarte's Light Camera Lashes because I can't force myself to use any other mascara. And then my lash is all ready to go, so I'm just going to pop that down to the outer corner. And then I'm just kind of squishing my lashes together. I have a little dot of mascara there, and I'm just gonna, it's dry now, so I'm just gonna take my spoolie and just really gently flick it away. So this is the final look. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up my makeup while I tell you guys my overall thoughts on the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. So overall, this palette is very comparable to the Modern Renaissance palette. It is a lot more similar to that texture and formula rather than the Subculture palette. So if you had your issues with the Subculture palette, but you loved Modern Renaissance, you'll probably love Soft Glam. In terms of the contents of the palette, it definitely kind of hits all of my main marks. You guys know I have my key points when it comes to a palette. I like there to be some highlight colors, some transition colors, and some dark colors. And I like to see a variation in texture as well so that I can use this palette on its own. I don't feel like I need to reach for something else, which is going to overall make it more worth my money. It's gonna make it something that I can easily travel with, easily take around. Just, you know, it's just gonna be something that you probably will reach for more likely than something that you have to use with another palette. It applies really smoothly, it blends out really, really well. The one thing that I do kind of now and again have this odd issue with Modern Renaissance, which I've never seen anybody mention, and honestly, I don't think I've ever mentioned it either, is that sometimes, I don't know why, I just have these like weird off days with Modern Renaissance where like my eye look super muddy with it. I don't know what it is. It's just weird. Like maybe it's the combination of colors that I happen to use that day or whatever, but every now and again that happens, and I've been using Soft Glam for about a week, and I haven't had that happen with this palette. I feel like it's a very like obvious, foolproof palette, which I've been seeing a lot of people being like, it's so boring, it's such a like boring palette. I mean, yeah, it's a neutral palette. But I will say again, like always, my one praise for Anastasia has continually been that they do things that are trending, but they do it better or they make it unique somehow. And I do feel that while this is a neutral palette, it still does have kind of more unique shades. We have some really pretty kind of like different metallic shades in here. They have nice undertones to them. They have some kind of unique flecks throughout them and stuff like that. Whereas I look at a brand more like, who's a good example of this? Like Tarte, for instance. Like Tarte puts out eyeshadow palettes that I love, but they're very much like, if I was like, oh, I want a warm toned eyeshadow palette, it's exactly what you would assume someone would come up with basically. Whereas I do feel like Anastasia palettes tend to have a bit more nuance, even if it's something that's kind of like a trendy thing right now. So overall, would I recommend this palette? Hell yeah. If you have a ton of Anastasia palettes or you have some of her single shadows and stuff like that, you might not be as drawn to it because there definitely are some repeats in there. You might have a ton of those shadows already, and as much as it's nice to have it in a palette, I mean, if you have the colors, you have the colors, you know? But yeah, I've been using it and really liking it. The one thing, when you open this packaging for the first time, you're like, oh, like beautiful. Like it's so pretty, and like you take it out and it feels unique, and it's like this kind of velvet, and it's like, oh my God, this is so nice. It gets so dirty. Like as soon as I took Modern Renaissance out of the packaging the very first time, I was like, wow, beautiful. And then I was like, oh, but why? Because I was like, this is gonna get so dirty, and they really, really do. The one thing I will say, if you are a deeper skin tone and you like a matte highlight, like a brow bone highlight and stuff like that that is matte, you might find yourself reaching for something different. That Tempura Shrimp color is like the only like true highlight color to me in that palette. They do have like orange soda, but I imagine that would be quite peachy on deeper skin tones, so you might find yourself reaching for a matte highlight if you have a deeper skin tone. But overall, I do think that the palette will work for a range of skin tones. It has that nice kind of gradation. All right, you guys, so that is everything for me. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you end up picking up the palette, if you guys want to see more looks. I'm here for you, baby. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Peace out.